Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon. I'll just wait for another 1 minute and then we will start the lecture. In the time, I request everyone to please keep yourself muted. Mute yourself so that there's no barrier in between in the lecture. Okay, so good afternoon, everyone. Hope I'm audible to everyone. And just maybe show me thumbs up or study. So welcome you in this class. I'm Assistant Professor Himanshu Jain. I'm going to teach you about communication skills. So today we are going to study the basic fundamentals of communication skills. Everyone can hear me? Okay, thank you. So we'll start with the basic fundamentals of communication. So I'm taking business communication skills. So in basic fundamentals of communication, how communication is very, very important in our times because a lot of businesses has been done with communication based on the right type of communication. To understand that, we would like to understand beforehand that what is communication, what is the process of communication. So communication is again a two-way process. It's not one way, like one person is not saying continuously. There is continuously exchange of ideas, thoughts, and words between two people or more than two people. Right? So then when we share our thoughts, words, and ideas and feelings into creating some meaning to another person, making some difference to another person, that is like connecting certain type of mass or connecting some people to deliver certain information to them, that is communication. So there are nowadays many ways how we pass on communication. It's not related to only when we have to be present in front of us, like how I am taking lecture, sitting a little far away, and you are all in different countries and data cities. So how we are also connected. So communication has become faster and how we're able to deliver message or deliver lecture through communication process. So this is what communication means. Now, to really understand what is the importance of communication, why communication is important, and when we are going to learn about our companies or dealing with an organization, how communication really can help us. The first thing is like when we do communication, it promotes motivation, right? It encourages another person. So there is always words which encourage another person, right? How well we deliver our message or how we motivate another person. For that, we need communication so that another person also can do well. Another ways of how through communication is also a source of information, right? So that the organization members for like they can really take right decisions based on the information. So that information also passes through the communication pattern, right? How we actually tell information. So communication also helps in getting information, and then communication is also plays a crucial role in altering an individual's attitude. Like that is a well-informed individual will have better attitude than a less informed individual, right? If you're all aware of what is going to happen, or so if you have proper information regarding that, right, then only you'll be able to perform the task well, right? So it also helps in enhancing person's ability, right? Also, it helps in helps in socializing, right? The more we talk, then we will be able to make friends, and then we will create business. When we will create bonds of understanding and trust. And unless we don't communicate with another person, it is difficult to interact with another person. Right? So this is the basic example of what is communication. Right? Hope this is clear to everyone. Right? Also, we can also keep all the questions for the end so that we can ask. I'll just keep maybe 10 minutes in the end so that we can have questions. Whatever questions we have, we can address that questions at the end. Moving ahead to understand the different types of communication or to understand the basic form of communication, how it happens or how it happens. What are the channels of communication? For communication, there are two basic types, like there is verbal communication and non-verbal communication. Right? So if you talk about non-verbal communication is which doesn't involve any voice, And we express ourselves through our expression, body language, through gestures, through voice, the tone, pitch. Right? These are all come under non-verbal communication. Whereas in the other segment is where it covers verbal communication, oral communication, verbal and oral communication, and written communication. Right? So verbal communication is, so if we talk about, okay, I'll just maybe first also explain about the different styles and purposes of communication, which is also formal and informal communication. So when we are talking about organization or certain institutes, we will be very formal in having communication. Whereas if we're talking with our family and friends, that will be informal communication. So moving ahead on the channels of communication, which is we are talking about verbal and written communication. So what is oral or written, oral and verbal communication? These are both are the synonyms of communication, like oral and verbal. In which what we use our thought, we use our voice to really share the information. We use certain sounds to share the information. We use words when we speak. This is a verbal communication. When we are conveying a certain message through certain sentences or sharing information through our voice. That is verbal communication. Another is written communication. So written communication is whatever message we want to convey to another person, we use a written medium where we used to write the information or mail the information, or like nowadays we use social media. So we maybe put that on Instagram or LinkedIn or any other social media profile. We put up the information and pass it to another person in a written form. Also, it's more trustworthy, like where we have some reports when we use written communication. And the non-verbal, which I already made you understand, that this actually doesn't need any language. It only is there are body movements is involved, right? So oral communication, what type of communication comes in oral communication? Where we used to do face-to-face communication, where meetings happen, lectures happen, and conferences, interviews, right? Where we actually, through our personal touch, we build that rapport between the other with the other person. That all comes under oral or verbal communication. Moving ahead towards written communication. So written communication again nowadays in business, it's very, very significant because if it is oral, if we have conveyed something through orally, we don't have any proof of certain agreement or any documentation is out there. For that, we need written communication where we need to have proof of what has been discussed. So that's why mails are very important in businesses, where we actually, whatever we had conversation, we put up that mail and then proceed with the communication. For example, like we use emails, right? And reports we create in certain organization where reports are needed, or blogs has been written in certain organizations. So that is all written communication. Now, of course, we understood about what communication is, what's the channel of communication. We also have to understand the flow of communication, how it reaches out to another person. So for communication, the basic thing is like we needed two people. One is the sender and another person is receiver. So of course, we are only talking about interpersonal relationship where two people are there. Or even if there are more people, like if we are talking about small group communication or maybe sender and a receiver. So in some cases, there will be one sender, in some cases, there will be many sender and many receiver. And in public communication, there will be one sender and many receivers. So talking about, if we talk about process of that communication, one is sender, another one is receiver. But then during that process, like how sender travels to the receiver, right? There is a process, right? How it reaches, the information reaches. So we call it sender actually insert the information, then the message actually is there and then decoded by the receiver. The receiver receive it, decode it, and understand the message, right? So this is the process of how communication happens. So what happened with sender? The sender is like a setting in which communication takes place. So if I am the sender, in our case, like if I'm taking a lecture, I'm the sender. What I have certain information with me. Now, as you all are receivers, you're going to receive the information, but how it will reach you? First, I have to really decode I have to really form a particular channel of sending the information. Right? So the channel is like how I decode encode the message, encoding the message by myself, right? Making in certain way what sentence I'll make and how I'm going to say, right? Then I decided to use it through verbal communication. So that will be my channel, like the carrier of the message or means by which the message is sent. So I'm using like how we are using the audio, like Zoom call, where I'm delivering the message verbally. Right? So that channel is there. Then at the same time, you all are receiver. So when you receive the information, you decode the information. Means either you are able to really understand the same message which I want to deliver to you or not. So you have to decode that information and understand it and receive it. So this is the process of how the whole communication happens. If it happens in a proper way, if it has been encoded and decoded well, then it's a healthy communication where the message has been understood by receiver as well. So at the same time, we also feedback process where we need to really understand, because feedback also helps in the end. You can really respond, okay, what you understood, what was the best part, what was can be worked upon. So when feedback comes in, next time the communication becomes better. So that's why feedback is also a very important part of process of communication. Clear this much? Everything is clear? Can I move ahead?
Yeah, I think. Ma'am,
Yes.
your voice is little bit echo. So if possible, can you please put mic near to you?
Okay. Is it better?
Yeah, yeah, great, great.
Okay. So now we'll move ahead regarding so we have understood the communication part. Now, during communication, a lot of times happen that we face lots of anxiety, or maybe we have fear, we have lack of confidence how to do the communication. So what is that? That is called barriers of communication. We find difficulty in communicating well. So those barriers, so we have to really understand what are the barriers of communication, right? So barriers we call any obstacle in conveying message to another person, right? Whatever information we have or whatever ideas we have, if we find difficulty in sharing those ideas and thoughts to another person, means there is a barrier in between the sender and the receiver. So the person who want to share doesn't have the confidence, or maybe doesn't have the content, or doesn't have the knowledge, then they face difficulties in communicating with another person. So we have to really understand what are the barriers, what different types of barriers we have. First is we call it interpersonal barrier, where interpersonal barrier is also known as semantic barrier, where we find difficulty in explaining what our ideas, what my ideas, or what my thoughts are to another person, where it's between one or two people. When interpersonal, we are talking about interpersonal barrier, means I have an issue with another person in front of me, and I'm not able to convey the information in a proper channel. Maybe sometimes I might not using the right symbol, not the right vocabulary, or maybe some misguided words have been used. So that all created differences, or maybe misunderstood the message for the receiver. So that is interpersonal barrier.
In the sorry to interrupt, ma'am. In the interceptal barrier,
Interpersonal barrier.
interpersonal barriers, the receivers would be many or the one person.
So when we're talking about interpersonal, it's about two people. So one person is sender, one person is receiver. So that time receiver is one only, because sender is also one. Interpersonal is between two people. So that is two people only.
Okay.
So what we call interpersonal is again known as semantic barrier, misunderstanding of messages being passed on to another person. Right? Next, we talk about the physical or environmental barrier. Right? So what happened, if we are taking lecture and continuously someone is shouting in between, or somebody's mic is open, so what will happen? We'll continuously face noise and disturbance during the lecture. That is called physical barrier, which is not in our control, which is outside. So because right now we are on Zoom, we can still mute others. But when we talk about physically personal environment, if some music is really very loud in our environment, what will happen? We are not able to tell everyone to really just switch off the music. We have to really go with the flow, like we have to maybe shout louder or maybe talk louder so that we can communicate. Right? So these are again the physical barrier which happen because of the physical environment around ourselves. Next is language barrier or linguistic barrier. So this is very common problem. Like a lot of times when we are connected with our own mother tongue and we found very difficult be in communicating with other person. Like a lot of times for many people, like English also becomes very big difficulty in speaking. They are very comfortable maybe in their own mother tongue. So that also is a barrier where language stops us to communicate, because sometimes we feel like the person in front of us really can speak well in maybe other language, and I'm not confident in that language, makes us to stop having communication, makes us to really stop even sharing our ideas, because we think I'll not be able to communicate well with them because of the certain language they know, right? That is language barrier. Then we talk about psychological barrier. So psychological barrier actually related to our own personal thought process, emotions which we carry, or maybe sometimes ego, prejudice, on these certain time poor retention where we are not able to retain information, or at the same time not able to focus on certain things. And also there are examples of how we can share about psychological better, because it's also connected to our emotions as well. What is happening in my environment? If some fight has happened in my environment, I'm really affected by that environment, and that's why I'm not able to present well in my workplace, because I'm really affected by the environment at home, which was. Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Is it? Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Sorry for interrupting. So psychological barrier again, it's all because of the stress we carry emotionally. If our mood is up and down, or if sometimes we are maybe when feel that there is a lot of status issues, or people are of high status are there, and we feel ourselves as low with them. That also is like created by our own self. So psychological or emotional barrier is created by our own self, or sometimes with the environment also. If certain things happening in our environment and we are affected by that, that's how also we build that psychological barrier within our own mind. Then we talk about social culture barrier. Social culture barrier means where, of course, different status also matters a lot, like maybe like rich or poor, or knowledgeable, or maybe lack of knowledge. So different stature people also have not comfortable communication, not able to convey well because of the difference in many different ways, like maybe cultural barrier or social status barrier. So at the time also, these barriers become big. Then physiological barrier. Physiological barrier is something related to human body, like human physical aspect of the human being. Where again, what we call, so sometimes because our eyesights are not well, we are not able to sleep properly. So that's because our health condition is not well, we are not able to communicate well, or I'm not able to hear properly. Maybe I have hearing disability, or certain issues are there. That's why I'm not able to communicate well. I have to again and again ask what you said, and then that's how create disturbance. I can request everyone to please mute. Yeah, so because of those issues, we are not able to have good communication with others. So that is called physiological barrier. So, for example, poor listening skills, right? Informational overloaded, inattention, emotions, poor attention. These are all the examples of physiological barrier. Then we talk about physical barriers. Dealing with physical barriers not regarding human body, but because of the outside environment. what is happening in the environment, right? So like how we also discussed in the starting, there is noise, or maybe the person is standing too far away, or these are all like distances, defects in machines. These are all, like which are not in our control, that are in the environment. That is not known as physical barriers. Right? Then we talk about dealing with language barrier that we already have discussed, but at the same time, this language barrier also concerned regarding the right type of vocabulary we are using, what type of grammar we are using, regarding to the language strength, like how our language is important in that language. Again, vocabulary is important, the sentence formation is important, grammatical part is important. So that if we are afraid of not having proper knowledge of any particular language, then also we hesitate to communicate well with another person. So that also we need to really work upon, like how we need to really see those barriers which really stops us to communicate with another people, right? So we can have proper listening skills, and then only language can be understood properly, right? So what happens that a lot of times people have fear of English, and because they made English a big, huge mountain, then they stop even try to really understand that language. For that, they need to really continuously be in an environment where English has been spoken, or continuously read certain articles, or read English newspapers, or English storybooks or magazines, and read also listen English channels, so that the environment is there. And then when consistently learn and create that environment of English, then you are able to really communicate well. That's how you can break that barrier of language in communication. Now we talk about the how to deal with communication barrier, right? So we understood, okay, there are barriers, but we not only can agree, okay, there are barriers, so it's fine, it is created, right? Problem is there, now solution is also there. We have to really see as the what is the solution, right? So if we talk about psychological barrier, what we should do, right? So psychological is like emotional barrier. So we have to really create first is there must be acceptance on one's mistake or limitations. Right? What if a person is not able to see properly? We have to respect that, create that space for that person. If we find that some person can't understand things, we have to really give the time space to that person. Right? People do not accept their flaws and limitations. This leads to many problems, right? So we have to be humble and respectfully towards other people. That's how this psychological barrier will be removed. Sorry. Many times the sender and the receiver are not in proper frame of mind. So again, that creates communication, but misunderstanding, lack of interest, mental and physical disturbance can cause problem because of that. So what we have to really do with that? So deal with that means respect another person's situation, respect the way the person is, and then don't expect certain behavior, don't expect the person to understand everything. Right? Give that space to that person, give that time to that person so that the person can understand your information or respect the person as they are. Then you're able to really transform and convey into well information or well in communication well. Right. Next is dealing with social cultural barrier, right? How to deal with social cultural barrier. So again, in the same way, like when we start respecting the person in front of us, right? Beside whatever situation they are, whatever custom, whatever culture they follow, whatever religion they follow, if we start respecting that person, then the barrier can be transformed or can be changed, right? So it is very much essential to learn new cultures, values, and observing people and accepting their cultures, right? We have to develop open-mindedness in this regard. We have to understand the mannerism of that other people, right? So if we maybe if you have seen, like every state has this certain rhythm of livelihood, or maybe living a certain way. So if you talk about like north part of India, right, from the top Kashmir or the hill stations, you will see that people wake up late and they just sleep on time. That's how they have decided their way, where they will not get up too early. Whereas if you move on to the south part of India, right, what happens? that people start waking up very quick, and they end their day also on time, like by 9:30 or 10, they will be all on bed. Right? So this is how there are different way of every stage. So when we are aware of, okay, if some person is coming, maybe a person from South India comes to North, and we expect that person to really start the day late, it will become difficult. So always that respect that person's time zone and respect that person's capability or respect their way of living, then we are able to really communicate well, right? So these are few things which we can really keep in mind while having communication with different type of people, different community, by keeping all those situations where how to we can better our communication with others. So yeah, this is all about the fundamentals of communication. Now I just leave this thing to you. Like if you have any doubt or anybody want to share anything, please let me know. Thank you so much. Or if you have any questions, you can maybe raise your hand and then one by one you can ask the question. Okay, Sumit. Yeah.
I'm asking one thing. How type of communication? Actually, I
So,
didn't answer.
sorry, your voice is breaking. I'm not able to hear you.
Actually, I'm asking you. There's some kind of communication with status.
I'm so sorry. I'm not able to hear your voice. Can you just repeat or maybe just type the message?
Yeah, I will type.
Was there is so much of sound.
Chat is not possible there.
Okay, you just can you just repeat it again, please?
I didn't understand. Sorry.
Yeah, just repeat the question.
Actually, I'm asking again. Can you please understand this communication type, social communication type?
Types of communication.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay, so there are, like how we said, three types of communication we're talking about. This verbal communication, this non-verbal communication, and written communication. So these are three types of communication we are talking. So verbal is when we use our voice to convey certain information or maybe our thoughts and ideas to another person. That is verbal communication. Verbal communication happens through maybe voice call, telephone call, or maybe one-to-one interaction with another person. That is verbal communication. Then we talk about non-verbal communication. So non-verbal communication is when we use our body language or gestures or eye contact to another person. That is non-verbal communication. And written communication is when we use handwritten, we write information and give it to another person. Like how magazines are there, newspapers are there, mails. Like these are all like reports. These are all written documents. So they are also passing information through those. So that is known as written communication. So these are the three major types of communication. Hope that's clear. Okay. Next, Sanjeev, you can ask.
Hello, good morning.
Yes. Good
Sorry, good
afternoon.
afternoon.
Yeah.
Ma'am, I just want to know that, is this the first class today?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Oh. Yes, Priyanka.
Ma'am, I wanted to ask, what kind of books shall we use for the
So that you can maybe talk to the department, like so you must be provided with all the PPTs. There are also references you can ask them. They'll send you the references for the same.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Yes, Rohan. Yes, Rohan. You can ask question, Rohan.
Hi, ma'am. This is Sanjay.
Okay, Sanjay.
I found some kind of weird communication type. I just wanted to know where it is getting fall down. There's a type of speed of communication. There are some people who talk with too much speed without any space pause and not give any pause to respond. And they you so where this communication fall down in your type of communication?
So this will also come into semantic barriers.
Semantic.
So, yeah. So when we are talking to another person and the speed is too fast, or maybe the tone is too high, the pitch is too low, these are semantic barriers where we are not able to convey the information in a right manner.
Okay, and person also doesn't allow to respond or give response with in some pauses.
I'm sorry, I didn't get you. Can you just
A person, when some person is communicating with me,
repeat?
not even giving, we usually respond yes, okay, no, oh, okay, no, oh, yes, like that. That the
These
person,
are all.
Yeah.
Yeah, complete.
so these all fall down under semantic communication.
Yeah. These are all coming to semantic barriers.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yes, Raman.
Yeah, hi. So these classes will be on weekend basis, or will do every day, means weekdays
For
only?
that, you will get information prior. Like you will get intimated like about this. There's no because fixed schedule, but yeah, you will get information prior.
Okay. Thanks.
Yeah. Okay. Yes, Rohan. Rohan, Kartike, anyone? They're all unmuted.
Ma'am, can you tell us the pattern of the assignments or term and exams?
This you can directly contact admin because they will be able to brief you regarding that. Okay, Karthik?
Okay, ma'am.
Yeah. Yes, anyone else?
Hello.
Yes.
Madam, can you brief me about this, ma'am? Public speaking.
Sorry.
How to address this issue? Ma'am, the issue of public speaking.
Public speaking.
Yeah.
Yeah. So public speaking.
Yeah.
So public speaking is all about when there is one sender and there are a lot of audience, right?
Okay.
Like how a politician speak. Right? The politician is one sender, the information who is passing the information, and there is like public who is listening to the narration or the speech which the politician is giving. That is public speaking, or we can maybe understand public speaking as attempting for debate competition, or maybe extempore, or maybe appearing for jam sessions. These are all public speaking. When one person is addressing a large audience or mass people, that is public communication.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
Ma'am, where this small meetings and small conferences communication for?
So small meeting, these are, sorry, I didn't get your question. What you want to ask?
Since we are talking about kinds of communication, types of communication, so like this guy asked public speaking, where now my question is, we have a small meetings, we have a small conferences, like 10 or 10, 15 people, 5, 10 people. What kind of communication of this?
That is small group communications.
Okay.
So if we divide communication again, these are all the methods of communication. So we call it semantic barriers, or semantic barriers. So we call it interpersonal communication. Then we call it intrapersonal communication. There is small group communication, and then there is public communication. So these are different types of methods of communication, where we divide, like when we are having interaction with one or two people, then there is interpersonal communication. When that group when these two people increases to a group of maybe 3 or 4 or 5 members, like how group discussion happen in an interview or in an office. So that is known as small group communication, where there is continuous exchange of information from one person to another person. So the sender and receiver will keep on changing in between that. So that is small group conversation, where there is passing of information and receiving of information also keeps on changing with every person. So that is known as small group communication. Then the last is public communication, where only one sender is there, but receivers are.
Even in a small group?
Not in small group. That is different. Small group is separately a different type of communication. But when we go to public communication, that is only one sender is there and many people are there. So that's totally a different part of communication.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. Anyone else? Rohan, Raman, Sanjeev, anyone? Okay. Hope I have just cleared the doubts.
One last thing, ma'am.
Yeah.
Is there any communication we call it mass communication, and what type of communication it will be?
Yes. So mass communication again related to, this is again the fifth part we talk about mass communication. So when we talk about public communication, what happened in public communication? The public is in front of us, and there is n number of communication. But when we talk about mass communication, so right now, if I'm giving a lecture, right, I still know the students, right? There are 33 students in front of me, or 34 students in front of me. I still know that people. But when I am maybe doing radio jockey, right, I'm conveying certain information through verbally, but it reaches out to mass people where I don't know how many audience are there. So that is known as mass communication, like how newspaper has been delivered. So we don't know how many people are reading newspaper, but still through written mode of communication, we are conveying information to a mass people where the number is not countable. And the audience is also not known to the speaker.
And this is similar to the public communication, like the politician is giving speech to the larger extent of the people. Can we say that this is similar to the mass communication?
Not exactly, because in mass communication, you are using technology mode. Whereas in public communication, you are physically addressing the audience.
Present place.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So because that's why it's known as mass communication, because you are using certain type of technology to reach out n number of audience. Yeah. So that is it.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. Narsimha. Yes, please ask the question quickly. Or Hitesh.
Hi, ma'am.
Yes,
Good afternoon.
Yes, sir.
So, ma'am, actually, we didn't knew that this lecture will be on communication. So, like, can we get any prior notes or something? So, like, it can be better to, like, be in the lecture, I mean.
Okay, so you can maybe please talk to admin for that. Just message them or tell them about this. They will inform you prior.
And can I get notes on this lecture, what we had?
So you must be receiving the PPTs for that. I'm sure you must have got the PPT for the same.
Like on mail or something, or I have to go on the website and check it out?
Please ask this question from the admin department. They are more aware of this.
It's all available in the portal.
Portal, okay. So you cannot please go through portal and then you can see. I think timetable is also been provided there only. So you can please reach out to the portal and then get the information.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Okay. So thank you everyone. See you soon next. Have a wonderful weekend. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.